Hey creatives, now do you remember about 2 weeks ago I shared 12 tips for starting an art journal page, and I was using acrylic paint and trying to help you be more expressive and fearless in your art making? Well, I promised in that video that I would come back and share with you what happened to some of those starter pages and what they then went on to be. So today I'm sharing the process of one of those pages and what happened to it. If you did miss that 12 tips for starting an art journal page video, then you might want to pop back and watch that first, so you can see where this page started and how I made it. So when I started filming this video for what happens next, I wasn't actually really sure. I didn't have anything in my mind as to what I wanted from it. The only thing I knew was that I wanted to put some circles in it, so you'll see those a little bit later. Other than that, I had no plans. So I thought I'd start gently and just add some more colour. And I'm just adding a thin layer of multiple colours using my finger. No real reason, it's just that that's what I felt like doing at the time. And as it happened, that was a great way of applying the paint because some of that lovely yellow was still coming through the other colours that I was layering on top. I purposely picked my colour palette to both complement and contrast with that yellow layer that's already on there, and there's also a lovely bright green colour there as well. And once that layer was dry, I then went on to start drawing in my circles. So first off, I'm just using white here to block out the shapes, and I'm kind of going for an abstract bubble formation, and I'm going to keep those coloured circles as my positive shapes and then block out all the rest of the page as my negative area. I've speeded the process up for you guys, but feel free to slow it down in the settings on the video if you want to see it in more detail. So the titanium white paint that I'm using for this works really well because it's nice and opaque. But I'm putting it on in such a way that I can still see some of the colour and texture coming through from that first layer. You can of course use gesso for this job and then just build up the layers until you've got it to a point at which you're happy with it. But using the titanium white's just a little bit faster, as you only really need 1 or 2 layers, whereas with the gesso you'd probably need 3 or 4 layers to get it to the same point. I've let this white layer dry because now what I want to do is just take some of that edge off. The white is so bright and I just want to add a little bit of warmth to it and also bring back a hint of that yellow that's already on there. Now I could of course just tinted the white in the first place, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a wash, a lovely pale lemon yellow wash. And by doing it this way I'm just introducing some more variation in that layer. So there'll be areas that will be darker than other areas, whereas if I'd tinted the white in the first place it would all be the same colour. So as this is just my junk journal and I'm not worried about it lasting long, or I'm not worried about the paint flaking off or anything like that, I'm just going to use water to make my wash. So after putting a little bit of that lovely lemon yellow onto my page, I'll just use water to spread it around into the areas that I want it to go. And then I'm going to do a similar sort of thing, but this time with a blue colour. And it's literally going to be the lightest of glazes just to take that edge off. The whole piece is dry and now all I'm going to do is add some details, and I'm using some ink for that. I've got some black Indian ink and I'm just adding it on with a brush. So I've partially diluted the ink with a little bit of water, and I think that combined with the fact there's a lot of texture on this page means that in some areas I'm getting some really intense, lovely black lines. But in other areas the line is a little bit more dilute, so it's much more a grey colour, and where you have that grey line the texture of the page just really shows through. So I kind of like that contrast between that light and the dark and the texture, and then the covering of that texture as well, so that's quite fun. I'm not sure if you can quite see what I'm talking about here, but you can definitely see it in more detail when we do the close-up at the end of the video. So I have a few more of these starter pages that I did in that 12 tips video coming up in the next few weeks, so the what happened next story for each of them. So if you're not one of my subscribers, please do think about subscribing so you don't miss those, and hit that notification bell as well. And I'm always bringing out art and craft videos every week, full of tips, tricks and inspiration. And if you've been finding this video helpful, then please do like it and share it. That would be absolutely amazing, so thank you for doing that. And whilst you're at it, let me know how often you actually manage to do art journaling. Do you manage to do one every day? Or maybe you're a bit like me, where I kind of do them in spurts, where I'll do a whole bunch of them together in one go, and then there might be a space in which I don't manage to get one done. I'm just being nosy, but I'd really like to know. So, the ink is dry, and I was trying to think about how to finish this page, and I thought I'd do some stamping. And this stamp set just perfectly matches with those circles, so let's do it. So I've used this stamp set before, and obviously I've used it somewhere where I had to make some paper masks. And I always keep my paper masks with the stamp set that I made them for. It just saves a little bit of time. So I'm just going to use those paper masks to plan out what I want to do with this stamp set. So before I stamp anything out, what I'm going to do is just make some very rough paper masks from some spare paper. And the eagle-eyed amongst you probably just saw one of my cats walking across my work surface. She was just looking out the window, which is just in front of me here. So the masks don't have to be precise because I can just move them about to cover the areas that I'm stamping. I'm also just going to refresh my ink pad because I think it's running a little dry, and also this is a textured piece, so I'm a bit concerned that I'm not going to get very good stamped images on it. So I want to give myself the best chance I can to get a good stamped image. I'm not looking for it to be perfect stamped images, I just want to get some dark lines so it will match with that pen work I've been doing. If the images look too faint, I don't think it's going to match quite as well. I think because of the size and the shape of these lovely circle stamps, I think it's going to work just fine, and I seem to be getting good enough images on this texture. For the butterflies, I've got another page from my junk journal that I've treated in exactly the same way. So it's got a white paint layer, then a yellow wash and a very light blue wash on it just to add some extra texture. And I'm going to stamp onto this. However, it's a little bit more crinkly and a little bit more textured than the pages in my book, so it doesn't stamp out particularly well by hand, so I'm going to have to get my MISTI out. You can kind of see how crinkly it is, the fact that I can't push it down into the corner perfectly. I've got it in the corner and I'm holding it down with magnets, but I got a feeling that's not going to be enough. I don't think those magnets are going to keep it in place. And because it's too crinkly that I can't line it up, I think this may be a problem. So the first image is a little bit bitty, and I'm going to just ink up and try again and see if I can get it exactly where it was for the first image. Let's see what happens. Fail number 2. It was very slightly mispositioned, so I've got that kind of shadow stamping that you get. It's either that or I've got very blurry vision. But it's okay, don't worry, I have a solution. This time, instead of relying on those magnets, I'm actually just going to stick it down in place with some washi tape. So I'm just making sure that I've got a couple pieces of washi tape attached to both sides of the frame in the MISTI. And then I'll try again. And this time that page is not budging for anybody. So I can re-stamp over and over again as many times as I need. So there you go. If you need a quick tip for those tricky stamping moments on your mixed media projects, then there's one for you. Just use a bit of washi tape in your positioning tool to keep everything in place, and you can re-stamp to your heart's content. So I've cut out my butterflies, and now it's just a case of working out exactly where I want to put them. And I'm going to attach them to my page with a little bit of gel medium. So I applied my gel medium to the centre of the butterfly, so I've got a little bit of a curl in the butterfly wings, which I quite like. Kind of adds an extra dimension and makes the butterflies look like they're flying off the page. And I think you can see more clearly here all that texture that I was talking about. Right from that first starter layer up to that black line and the stamping as well. And that rainbow of colours really pops from that neutral background, doesn't it? Have fun with your next art journaling session, and I'll catch up again with you in a few days' time. So thanks for watching.